Our next guest is the expert in the area of family law. And last time he joined us, many of you contacted him with a lot of questions.
Yeah, so we thought it would be great to have him back to share some answers with us and with you.
Yeah, Rob Carpenter is an attorney who specializes in litigation and reaching results.
And he helps those in need find low cost and hopefully low conflict divorce solutions. And we were talking earlier about how this is just something that a lot of times people aren't sure where to start. They don't talk about it very much. Can you give them a little bit of help in that area?
Well, I certainly can. One thing you need to keep in mind is very few people educate themselves or even talk about the family courts and what their role is. That's one of the things that surprises me consistently when I initially meet with someone who's having some difficulty, needs some help through the family courts. People just don't talk about this subject until they're to the point where they have to turn to the family courts. It's kind of almost a taboo subject. People don't like to bring it up. People will assert from the beginning, well, that'll never happen to me. I will never need that type of information. And so it's very easy to rely upon perhaps some stereotype or some story that you've heard about what someone else's situation might have been and think, well, that's what my case needs to look like. The fact of the matter is, when I was here the last time, given I think we all recognize what the current state of the economy is, I thought that it would be most interesting to the viewers to talk about some low-cost alternatives. But when I got calls from viewers and people wanted to talk to me about things that we had discussed, the one thing that people wanted to really talk about was not low cost, but low conflict. And that makes sense, because really the best way to have a low-cost divorce or custody matter is to have a low-conflict divorce or custody matter, because the more you fight, the more you pay your attorney.
Right.
That being said, a lot of people don't know how to do it. And as I said when I was here the last time, attorneys don't really have an incentive to encourage low conflict cases, because that's how we get paid. The more people fight, the more money we make. But there are some things, there's some knowledge you can equip yourself with, I think, going in to help you get through this, bearing in mind that, especially in cases where there are children involved, you're going to have a relationship. It will continue after the judgment is entered, after the case is over. You're going to have to co-parent. You're going to be there even after your children are adults. You'll be at the weddings, at the graduations, and those types of things.
Connected forever. You know, and I think some of that negativity, you know, people have heard nightmare stories about divorce and some of the, you know, things that it can entail. Rob, how do you go about having a low conflict divorce? You know, something obviously is emotional, you know, cuts to the bone, people are vulnerable. Are there some things that people can keep in mind and that you tell your clients?
There are. I just want to preface my remarks with, no matter how bad you want it, there are cases out there where one side might want a low conflict divorce and the other side isn't going to give it to them. So you need to be cognizant from the beginning, is my spouse willing to go along with this, or are they going to use the family courts to take a few shots at me on the way out? But if both sides can agree, we want to get through this as painlessly as possible. The question I guess you've really got to ask yourself is, what are our goals? How do I want this to turn out? And there are certain things that you need to be mindful of. The courts have very little discretion on a lot of the issues that come up in divorce and custody cases. Property, for instance. No matter how hard you fight, no matter how much you pay your attorney, no matter what argument you bring to the table, the courts in Michigan are pretty much limited to what is called a congruent division of the marital estate, meaning it's going to be basically half. The courts don't want to say exactly 50-50, because that opens up a can of worms for appeals when someone argues that you didn't quite do the math right, but it's going to be about half. So there's really no sense in arguing over whether somebody ought to have a bigger share of the assets in most situations. So I guess when it comes to property, I guess the most important thing to ask yourself is, do a cost-benefit analysis and ask yourself, how do I want this to turn out? And it's very important that you have an attorney that you trust who will tell you straight up, that's not worth fighting over. Just by way of an example, one that really gets under people's skin are pensions and retirement savings. I can't tell you how many times I've had people tell me, you know, I've worked my whole life to earn that pension and I want it, I don't want to share it. Well, an attorney who wants to make a lot of money off that file can file motions and say, we want to exclude that from the marital estate. You know, he earned it, she didn't contribute to it, or vice versa. But at the end of the day, the court has almost no discretion when it comes to that. The law is clear. It's marital property.
You know, Rob, there are so many different avenues to explore, so many different questions to answer. We want to give people your information, and we're going to give that to them on our website as well. We've had it up on the screen to allow them to call you, because I know you are doing a free consultation estimate today if people call to get an idea, and it's certainly refreshing to hear an attorney like yourself talking the way that you are, that there are solutions that are low cost, low conflict.
And that there are options, but it's different for each person.
Yeah, thanks for coming in today. I appreciate
Thanks.
it. We'll be right back.
That went